Alrighty, y'all, what's up? Welcome back to the show. This is going to be a fun one. You know, I love comparisons of everyday things. In this case, German flats versus American apartments. First difference is right in the title, right? Of course, in different regions around the world, you would hear an apartment called a flat. So that is nothing new. I've definitely heard that before. Of course, you would way more likely hear that called an apartment here in the U.S. Now, of course, I live in a house now. But, like many people do, when I was younger, I did live in an apartment. So I have some context there. I can't wait to see the differences. This is, I believe, from an American woman who, of course, grew up in the U.S. and at the time of this video is living in a German flat in Germany. This is from a channel called Kelly Does Her Thing, and it'll be linked in the description down below so you can watch this whole video uninterrupted and, of course, browse her channel already. Let's take a look.
So when you first walk into your standard German apartment, you'll notice a bunch of shoes on the ground. And that's basically because when a German comes home, they'll arrive, they'll take off their shoes, and they'll put on what they call house shoes, or basically just slippers. So that way they're not tracking in any mud or dirt or anything from outside and into their house. And that's pretty cool, but I thought it was a little weird.
That makes sense. That's right. That's what we do at our house, right? We're still teaching the kids that right now. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they forget. They walk in and it's like not a big deal, right? If they're not, super dirty. But yeah, that's what we practice in our household. Come in, after a day out running errands or whatever, and take off your shoes, basically right by the doorway there.
Whenever I went to a German apartment for like a party and I was expected to bring my own house shoes. Sometimes the host will provide house shoes if they have enough, depending on the size of the party. But yeah, I had to bring my own house shoes, and when I got there I was expected to take off my shoes and put on slippers to then socialize with everyone, which I thought was pretty strange.
Now that's different for a party, right? If I'm hosting a party, we're gonna watch some sports or something, have some food, have a beer with some friends, then that's different. I don't really know why, how to explain that, but yes, I would take my shoes off in my own house when I come home. But if you're having a social gathering with a lot of people, now that I think about it, everyone keeps their shoes on, even in the house. Weird. Whereas in Germany, seems like the norm is to everyone takes their shoes off, even at the social gathering. Really kind of interesting.
All right, let's go into the kitchen. So German kitchens to me are really, really different, primarily because Germans actually move their kitchens, which I know, it sounds crazy. So I never really understood why, when I went into IKEA in America, why there was like this huge section dedicated to kitchens. Like, how many people are getting their houses built and needing to buy cabinets and counters and whatever for the house? And then I moved to Germany and found out that Germans will go and buy their own kitchen, install it into their apartment or their flat, and then will actually, if they're moving, will deinstall that kitchen, take it with them, reformat it, because obviously not every kitchen is shaped exactly the same, and then they will reinstall it. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to this. Yeah. Some Germans will be able to sell their kitchen to their landlord, or maybe the person that's taking over the lease after them. But for the most part, they move their kitchen with them.
Okay, that's totally different. If that exists in the U.S., I've never heard of it. Yeah, that is definitely not common. Every apartment I had, of course, the bathrooms, the kitchen, and the laundry room were all standard, right? So you didn't have to buy, a stove and a refrigerator and all these different things, right? You just bought little accessories, of course. But, you didn't have to essentially buy the whole kitchen, get cabinets and all these things, right? That is very different. You would only, of course, get stuff for the living room and bedrooms, right? Beds and furniture. So that is way different.
Their refrigerators are drastically smaller than ours, and it's kind of hard to show you on this video without doing a side-by-side comparison. But if you think about it, I'm 5'7", and this is the top of my shoulder, and this is the top of the fridge. So my shoulder is actually above the height of the fridge, and the freezer is pretty small too.
Oh, that is small.
Another thing is their dishwashers. So
that is small. And look, when I laugh, please don't be offended. It's not a bad thing. Everywhere is different. That is just
really
so small. I would have to overhaul my whole just shopping and thought process, right? Because our fridge is way bigger than that.
If I remember correctly, when I looked it up, our hardest water is still
In the US?
like 10 times softer than Germans' softest water.
Wow,
That's how
so
hard their water is.
really
So
hard
because
water,
of their
okay.
hard water, Germans will actually add additives into their dishwasher to soften the water and make sure that it doesn't create this like film
spots
or calcium like buildup or residue on their dishes. Another thing
So
is that I have never seen a Keurig
that's
for the
different.
entire time.
It depends on the house and the area, but yeah, we have water softeners very common here. So, you have usually some softer waters in certain cities, hard water in other cities. And then, of course, you have water softener setups and all these different things. So the water in either place I've lived in the U.S. has been pretty good. No complaints.
That I've been in Germany. I don't know if they're here or not, but I've never seen one. But I have seen coffee appliances from other brands. So Tassimo is a popular brand that you'll see in Germany, and so is Nespresso, and there's a bunch of other ones. But I've never seen a Keurig here, which is kind of interesting because I feel like Keurig just like took over America over the past couple years.
Keurigs are like unbelievable. They're almost a household item. Like everyone no matter who they are, it seems like a Keurig is present. Very common
that's all for the
in
kitchen,
the US.
so let's move to the bathroom.
You see Nespresso sometimes, rarely. I'm sure it's way more common over there, though.
So as I walk into the bathroom, the first thing I'll point out is the toilet. So they don't have handles to flush their toilets. What they have are buttons, and usually there's two of them. And as I always say, the bigger the button, the bigger the flush.
Makes
and
sense.
You'll also notice that there isn't that
top
part to the toilet that we have, and that's because it's like inside the wall there.
Wow.
And the toilet doesn't sit on the ground. It's basically just floating in the air there.
And the
also,
tank
a lot of German flats will have their washer and dryer inside their bathroom.
I tell you what, that aesthetic is much cleaner. Right? It's very interesting.
So another different thing is that they have these cool heaters inside their bathrooms, which are basically like towel rack shaped heaters. So when you turn it on, not only is it heating up the bathroom, but it's also warming up your towel, which is pretty awesome when you're getting out of the shower.
Okay, that's so different. I've never seen that in any U.S. house ever. Or apartment. Sorry, we're on apartments. You know what I mean. Living space. That is very different.
What is not awesome, though,
That's
is that,
cool.
again, because of this hard water thing, if you have a shower like this, where it's like this glass wall, you are going to have to squeegee every
Always
single
got to
time you get
squeegee that
out of the
bad
shower.
boy. Otherwise, look at... Sorry to narc on her, but she does have spots. You can see the spots showing. Yeah, those, you got to keep up that squeegee. In my experience, you really can't even skip it once. Right? I mean, I feel good after the shower anyway. You don't want to feel lazy. You gotta squeegee it, because even though our water, I guess, is a lot softer over here, no, it will leave spots, especially if you leave it a couple times.
It drives me crazy because it's just another step I have to take when I'm getting ready in the morning.
Much easier to get when it's fresh, dripping down. You just squeegee it off.
Is to squeegee down the shower. And if you don't squeegee down the shower, you get these really bad hard water stains on your glass,
and it looks ugly.
It takes kind of like a lot of effort to wash them off. The first thing I always notice about a German bedroom or their hotel rooms, a lot of times, they have these two mattresses that lay next to each other to make up. This is basically like a queen-size bed. And if you notice, those are actually two different blankets, too. And when I moved in with my boyfriend, I thought it was, really weird. It seemed like, I was like, what is this, the 50s? We can't sleep in the same bed together. And I've grown to love it. It is awesome.
Really?
I sleep so well, and I think it's just the better way, because if you think about it, it's not exactly natural to sleep right next to someone and be able to get super restful sleep, because maybe they move or are making noise or whatever. But for some reason, having this defined sleeping space for yourself, you get way better sleep. So if you look,
I can possibly see that. I would have to try it out. I like king size beds, right? That's the norm here. Maybe a queen size in certain houses, but most of the time you're going to have a decent size bedroom in most houses with a king size bed, right? And I love king beds. They're just big. You jump on. Well, you don't jump, but you get onto the bed when it's time to go to sleep, and it just feels so good to stretch and then cuddle up and go to sleep. I guess it's what I'm used to. And that's something I didn't really think would be different in certain other places, right? Having the two beds thing is very odd to me. But I can possibly see, I'm not sure if I'm convinced yet, but I can possibly see, at the end of the day, I love cuddling, with my wife, but that's not how we sleep. I'm kind of particular about how I sleep to get good sleep. And yeah, most people, are in their own space on the bed. So
behind me, you'll notice that this is like a wardrobe. And again, it looks similar to IKEA, right? What you'd see in IKEA. And that's because Germans, they don't have closets. They don't do the closet thing.
Wow.
So you basically have to go and buy wardrobes from furniture stores if you want to be able to hang up your clothes, because there are no other options. There are no closets. Another thing I'll point out in
different
here
too.
are the
closets are getting bigger and bigger with newer like house layouts. I mean, even older houses had closets, but a lot of the new ones, I mean, the closets are literally like, gotta turn that off. The closets are just like its own room next to the master bedroom. It's
and
weird,
I think they're pretty cool.
They're getting big.
I've heard that a lot of Americans think that the German windows are super fascinating. So this isn't a window. I mean, this is a door, but it's the same mechanism. So you can
I do love
either
these.
open
We've seen these. I love them.
Right? Or you can bring the handle up and it'll just, as I call it the German way of opening. So I don't really know like what a proper term for it should be, but basically it just tilts the glass away from the wall, and so you get some airflow without opening the entire window or door.
Yeah, and most of you watching this probably have seen that I'm very fascinated by these doors and windows in Germany and of course other parts of Europe that have these. It's just really innovative, really cool, really like well built, right? I love it. So yeah, we've seen these before. They're incredible.
I think it's pretty cool. Their light switches are different. Instead of having like the actual like switch looking things that we have, they have basically square buttons as their switches. And they also don't really have doorknobs. Yeah,
it's a square. Ours are either a little like switch that you flip up or you flip down, or the other style would be like a rectangle vertically laid out, and you would, again, flip it on or flip it off, as you could probably see in the background there. So I've never seen that style that she showed.
I've never seen a doorknob in Germany.
Totally different.
They mostly have
They're always handles.
Door handles. This is what I'm used to seeing all throughout Germany.
Yeah, and you might see door handles on the front door or the rear door, like of the house or even apartment. So it's about a 50-50 chance of that in the U.S. But of course, all the bedroom doors and smaller doors, they're always going to be door knobs. That's like very common. And I have to admit, I do like the feel of the handles better. I like that design. I would not mind if that, became the norm in America, because I think it's better.
Right.
I do.
Let's go into the living room. Oh, the furniture in here, I think, is pretty standard. Again, it looks like something you'd see in IKEA, and I'm sure any German hearing me say this all is probably really annoyed. Like, IKEA is not the only furniture store, and I got that. But I just think IKEA resonates really well with your average American, because it describes the style of furniture it is. Not
yeah,
so
she's
much
right. You might want to correct her. I'm sure all of this and every German apartment or German flat, rather, is not furnished by IKEA. So don't take that too literally. I agree. I think she's saying that in reference to like someone like me as an American watching this. That is where you would see a lot of these, different style of, room sets, right? And different big furniture pieces and things. Whereas an American store like Ashley Furniture or Slumberland or all these different places, they're going to be, I guess, more Americanized. And IKEA, at least you get some sort of European flair.
So as I mentioned, there's not a lot of closets. There aren't a lot of like built-in storage in German houses and apartments. And so they'll buy furniture that's much more functional than I think what the average American has in their home, so that they can like get the storage they need out of the furniture. The other thing I'll point out in here is the heater. So when you look at the heater, I always think it looks like this old school, again, like throwback to the 1950s
that
style
looks old
heater.
School.
They don't have like central
old
air
American
here like
stuff.
we do in most of your new houses in America.
Right.
They have these heaters, and actually they don't have air conditioning. I've never seen a house or an apartment with air conditioning. They rely on opening the windows and using the curtains and the shades and the blinds to basically keep their house cool in like a more natural way instead of using air conditioning. And then again, with the heaters, they have these like vents, and it doesn't really create a lot of airflow. And so Germans will, and there's a term for it, but I just don't know it, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it right, where they open up all of their windows for a certain amount of time to just basically like air out the house or the apartment to get any moisture out and make sure that no mold starts growing. And the last thing...
Yeah, that is, again, a big difference. I've heard that before on another video, and just solidifying the fact that no AC is like common, right? That is totally different. Now, of course, I'm willing to bet, most of the United States has a hotter climate, especially like in summer, than you could say most of Germany. But yeah, we couldn't rely on just opening the windows. It would be smoking hot in the house. So we either have, depending on the house, you might have window units, you might have central air. That's like the most common. It's just I can't imagine I have an air, but that's just because of my exposure to just U.S. apartments, U.S. houses. That is just totally different.
And I'll show you in here
Totally
is
different
the
approach.
blinds. So most German houses and apartments will have these roll down blinds that are basically on the outside of the window. And I did this, it's an electronic function, and so
Whoa.
it's rolling it down itself. I don't think this is anything particularly fancy. It's pretty much standard. Maybe
I have never
it's not
seen that
electronic.
either.
Maybe you have to manually roll it down like I did in my old apartment. But for the most part, their blinds are on the outside of the window, and they're shaped like this instead of ours, which are on the inside usually. And
Yeah.
they have like the standard slatting type design where you can like open them and close them. All right, guys, that's all I have.
Yeah, little details, a lot different. The bathroom was a lot different. Very interesting. I like the door handles versus the doorknobs, so you guys definitely got that figured out. Of course, like the amazing windows, the way they open, how thick they are, how well built they are. I don't know, pretty interesting, as well as like the social gatherings. You're going to someone's apartment, and everyone, even if you're having like, say, I don't know, like 5 people over, and you're having a dinner party or something. Everyone not wearing shoes and wearing some sort of house slippers or house footwear is obviously a good and clean idea. It's just hard for me to picture because as someone who does take their shoes off, at home, socially, for some reason, everyone keeps their shoes on. So it is pretty weird. I mean, a lot of interesting differences here. Any that you would like to add or, any thoughts on this video, please let me know in the description. Wow. In the comments down below. And, keep your great video suggestions coming. Of course, please throw a like on there if you enjoyed this. Subscribe to be part of this amazing community we do have here. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, y'all, catch you later.